Good day to you, fellow tea trekkers. I'm Ollie from The Tea Guru. Today we're looking up close and personal to one of our new cakes we have in. It's a borderline tea, Puerh, ? Let's take a look. So why is it called Puerh with a question mark on the end? Well, legally I suppose I can't call it Puerh because we don't precisely know which country this tea comes from. A Puerh can only be called a Puerh if we know for sure that it originates from Yunnan. And with this particular tea, because it's a borderline tea, we can't be too sure on the precise coordinates of this tea garden. We can't call it Puerh. There's a very good chance it could be from Laos. So Laos borders Yunnan. And Laos has some really good tea. If you've tried the Laos Gushu, I've got in a moment. I brought in some Malcha, which is loose leaf Puerh if you like. I can't call it Puerh, but you know what I mean. We still have some in stock. And the beautiful thing about Laos Puerh style tea is it's so fruity in nature, and the Gushu comes in at a very good price considering it's very old tree, plus 100 years. The price point's great. The actual tea itself is really expressive and fruity, and we will see some of those traits within this tea. Mrs. Guru's done a fine job of managing this cake. I'm using a cake that we've already been sending out samples of this tea, so this is a cake that's sort of been cut in half, if you like, and we're sending out samples to some people. So this was a recently discovered tea garden. Our plucky tea adventurers were navigating the trails that meet Yunnan and Laos. The actual trail that they were following ducks in and out of the country, so you never really know at which time, at any given time, which country you may be in, because it's so twisty and turny. Actually, the tea garden that this comes from is still in dispute at the moment. There is not a general consensus as to which country this tea belongs to. What I'm actually going to do real quick is I'm going to heat up our teaware. So we chuck in a tiny amount of very hot water, and this particular tea, which is fairly common with wild tree or dashu, old tree and gushu. This particular one does take a few infusions to really get going. So I'll give you my thoughts, my very brief thoughts through the initial infusions, and things will start to open up from about infusion 4 onwards. So it's a pretty good sign, you know, if you're newly into Puerh and you know you get a very good gushu or a dashu, and you're having the first few infusions and nothing much is happening. Things are happening, it's there, but it's not really sort of letting the cat out of the bag straight away. Don't worry, this is fairly normal. Just keep going through the infusions and then the tea starts to open up. I'm going to rinse off these tea leaves. So spring 2018, the liquor is coming through a fair kind of hay yellow. The aroma is quite wonderful, very pungent. You can't miss this. It's a subtle sweetness wrapped up with some vegetal notes, but a kind of a sweet fruit. Kind of a deep, sweet, fruity aroma is powering through and is sort of is the main attraction to the aroma. So there's kind of three things going on. We've got that sweetness, a little bit of vegetative aroma, but the powerhouse, the main star of the show with the aroma, is that kind of deep fruitiness that I can, if you want to sort of pin me down on the sort of fruit, it's kind of like a halfway between a sort of a baked raspberry and maybe some sort of exotic papaya or something like that. The liquor's looking very sort of viscous in the cup. Lots of bubbles. And as much as I love these new teacups, if anyone's seen me on social media recently, one infusion from this guy will fill it to the top and more, so I might have to change it in a second. I'm still getting that beautiful sweet aroma off the leaves, even when it's here. It's pretty pungent. And it's that deep, sweet fruitiness that I find that you can find in a Laos Gushu or a Laos Dashu. Price-wise, this cake's sitting at $36.50 for 200 gram cake, which for a wild old tree, no pesticides or anything like that, old trees being of between sort of 60 to 80 years of age, $36.50 for 200 grams really ain't too bad. And of course it's a borderline tea, so you know, if it was to be something like Yibang or another sort of lovely place in Iwu, prices can really skyrocket. So bang per buck, borderline Laos teas, very good. You know, I don't know how recently discovered this tea garden is. I think it may have been discovered this spring, but I will get clarification and I will drop it down in the comments box below this video. So to confirm, I do believe it's spring 2018 it was discovered, but at this point I'm not too sure. Okay, straight off the bat, first infusion. Remember that it's going to take a while to for the flavours to sort of open up. Immediately, you're getting a touch of kind of eggshell. I wouldn't even call it eggshell. It's more of like, if you can imagine licking a stone, if you can imagine that taste, kind of like borderline metallic. Already on the first infusion, and I love this for a first infusion. It's just got that sort of hints towards fruit on the aftertaste. So you've got that sort of base, you've got that underlining whetstone minerality, borderline metallic, but isn't. It's kind of like whetstone minerality, touch of hay, touch of sort of vegetative notes, but these are very minute nuances I'm trying to get to. It's not overwhelming, and that fruity aftertaste already building up in the first infusion. Infusion 2, here we go, nice and hot. Nice and hot. It's hard these days to find cracking teas underneath, you know, sub £20 per 100 gram mark, because things have gone up so much, and that's why speculation in borderline Laos teas has been driven hard and is advancing in price at the similar rate as everything Puerh. So, you know, the Laos Gushu that I got in about a year ago, that's great, and it came in at a great price point. This year, I tried to, I attempted to source some more Gushu from Laos, and guess what? The price had gone up 20%. The quality wasn't as good, so you know, everything's going up everywhere quickly. It's frustrating, but you know, if you can forgive a tea for its origins and really look at it for what it is, you know, a borderline tea still shows amazing quality price ratio, and that's why I do gravitate towards good teas, but with a, you know, if you can get bang per buck, perfect. Infusion 2. That minerality is so hard to miss now. It's just getting stronger. I wouldn't say bruising, I wouldn't say a brash minerality, but it really is pretty hefty and tasty. The liquor itself is a fair consistency. It's not salivating, but there isn't much mouth pucker either. So, you know, a salivating raw is in high demand and a really good marker for being an exceptionally good tea. On the flip side, a tea that really sort of feels like it's sucking away all of the water from your mouth and leaving you sort of parched and dry is not necessarily a great sign. This one is kind of in the middle, a tiny bit of mouth pucker, but kind of slightly lubricating at the same time. You can sort of feel some saliva building up underneath my tongue, so it kind of leaves me in a balanced middle, if you like. It's the large amount of minerality as a baseline. Flavor-wise, in the middle, it's kind of mineral hay, I'd say. I wouldn't even, hay is a strong word, because, you know, you can experience hay in the taste of hay in a lot of Puerh teas, and it'll be quite sort of a strong hay flavour, but it's not. It's kind of it's kind of a touch of hay, and the aftertaste is building, which is great for Infusion 2. Tasty, tasty. So if you've tried a lot of Iwu raws before, that kind of beautiful minerality, it is similar in respect to that, but this is sort of more down the sort of whetstone metallic kind of minerality, so it is slightly different. Infusion 3. Tell you what, it's cold right now, but it's going to get pretty colder for us very soon. Christmas time, we're going away. We're going to Loch Ard over in Scotland. I haven't visited Scotland for near on 18 years, so I'm very happy to be going back. And it, I wouldn't say it guarantees, but it gives us a very strong chance of a white Christmas. Where we'll be staying was actually snowed in about 4 days ago, for 1 day. So makes it even more exciting, hey? So if I can get away from the party and do a few shots while I'm away in Loch Ard, I'll do a few tea videos. I'll just do them on my iPhone and flick them on YouTube. Keeps you guys going over the festive period, I suppose. So I'm just about to do my third infusion, and this aftertaste is building up to a kind of a herbal aftertaste. All right, so Infusion 3, it's all starting to come together now. That baseline of minerality is now coupling up with a kind of exotic fruit notes that's coming in the kind of middle palate. So it's all starting to sort of come together. In the first infusions, the minerality was getting larger and larger. Now the sort of middle palate is coupling in with it. A fairly expressive tea, with, I'd say, maybe 3 to 4 out of 10 bitterness scale. So we're not seeing large amounts of bitterness right now. But the sweetness is starting to pop through as well in Infusion 3. So it's all starting to meld together, and it's starting to show us what we're all about here. And you know, the amazing thing about wild tea, if it is true wild tea, is that you just don't have to worry about pesticides. If you're kind of a pesticide warrior, then you know, stick to the wild, or stick to vendors that you truly trust in terms of where they're getting their tea from. If they're saying it's pesticide free, then you can believe them. But flavour's just popping, very satisfying. So if you haven't tried a Laos tea before, the only way I could sort of compare it, I say Laos, it could well be a Puerh. But we'll assume that it's not. It's priced as a borderline. So if you haven't tried a Laos tea before, hopefully you may have tried an Iwu tea before, an Iwu raw. I would say it's kind of very similar to an Iwu, be it that it's a bit more expressive in terms of it's got more fruitiness coming through, and a tea like this has got more, even more minerality pushing through, a bit more expressive in some respects. Fairly smooth, fairly nice and smooth broth. The broth feels quite substantial. It's very clean, and I'm halfway through my third infusion, and I can feel that I can feel the cheese starting to push a little bit, which again is a very good sign. It's the sort of chi that is slowly building, and it's not in your face and aggressive. It's just sort of a nice sort of chilled out pillow sort of. Am I making any bloody sense? It's kind of it's relaxing chi. You can feel it there, but it's just very submissive. It's just in the background. I just finished off Infusion 3, and sweetness is starting to pop around the bottom of my cheeks. This tea is starting to show itself more and more. So I've got a tendency to just whiz through these infusions. When I do so, I do miss the aftertaste. Personally, with this tea, it's a sort of aftertaste that will show itself maybe 30 seconds plus after you've finished your infusion, and it is a good idea to sort of at least space out maybe a couple of minutes between infusions to savour the beautiful aftertaste that you can experience. And while I'm talking here, I've still got beautiful sweetness coming out of my the back of my cheeks here. Now, if you want to experience teas like this properly, an absolute must is good water. You need to have Brita filtered is where I think it is. The thing about bottled water, bottled spring water, is they're all slightly different. They all have different sort of pH levels, different minerality, different mineralities within the different brands. And sure, if you want to go sort of exploring through different brands and finding one that really helps pop out the tea, that's really good. But for me, I'm very happy with my Brita filter, and I feel that's good enough for me. But yeah, I mean, it may be interesting in Lochard. I've heard the water there is really good, but do they add chlorine to it? Do they add all these little things to the tap? I don't know. Well, we'll find out. I will be bringing some bottled water just in case. But yeah, I mean, you know, some people are very lucky to live in an area where they have untreated or very low treated water, and they may, you know, depends where your water comes from. Here in Guildford, in Surrey, in the good old UK, our water comes straight out of the River Wey, which incidentally is about 30 metres over there. But they need to treat it, and they need to add all sorts of stuff to it. And the chlorine, you can taste it. So a Brita filter goes a mile while tasting these teas. So I'm hitting Infusion 4 now, and the colour is really going to a sort of turning yellow. Let's get a shot. All right, guys. So this is Infusion 4 on the Puerh. There it is, Puerh, question mark. A turning yellow. The colour's not really coming through very well on this iPhone. Here we go. Here is the leaf. Very nice. And a close up of the cake. Beautiful stuff. Ooh, sunshine. Yeah, it's in full balance now. I'm hitting Infusion 4 and it's all just come in as one. You got, as I mentioned before, that minerality. It's settled in. In the midway, the hay vegetal notes kind of there, but now we're seeing this the push of the wonderfully sort of sweet fruits that are coming through. Yeah, it's kind of a blend of vegetal notes with kind of an exotic fruit. Wonderful. The infusions. Sweetness, like great. You can string this out for 8 to 10, potentially more infusions, depending on how robust your brewing style is. But Infusion 4, it's feeling thick in the mouth, fairly smooth, with all the flavours rounded off as one. And it's, you know, the lead up to the 4th infusion is beautiful. You see all these things starting to come together. Infusion 4, boom, that's the cup. Really good. That's the cup that it really shows off the length and breadth of what this tea is. Bitterness levels rising. We're hitting sort of 4 to 5 now. Any of you guys ever tried any aged Laos before? Any aged Laos raw? Aged Laos Gushu? There must be some aged Laos on the market somewhere. You'd have thought that, you know, it was going cheap. A lot of the Laos stuff traditionally has been crossing the border into Puerh territory for a while now, and being palmed off as other mountains, you know, to get more money out of it. But there must, you know, considering that people weren't taking much interest in Laos up until recently, there must have been a sort of a stock, I can imagine stockpiles of raw hanging around. There must be some good aged stuff out there, but I've never come across any. But it'll be interesting to see what sort of 15 year plus old tea, Laos tea tastes like. So if you guys have tried any more aged Laos, drop a little message in the comments. Me and the others would love to know. This tea's still going on strong, and will do. I project for at least another 4 or 5 infusions, probably longer. This is potentially the last video for me before Christmas. I may get another 1 or 2 in, but if I don't, I wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas. Thank you very much for stopping by as always. You can pick up Puerh ? On the site. It's available right now. So I bid you guys a very Merry Christmas. Thank you so much, and of course, happy cupping. I don't know how much more time I've got before Christmas.